Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 4 of PGIM India Mutual Fund presents LiveMint, Amend, Adjust, and Adapt. This is a series of high-powered panel discussions that we have been doing to try and figure out the success mantras for the new normal in the post-COVID world. And if, like me, you're wondering when the post-COVID world is coming, I'm afraid that we don't have a clear answer to, but we can try and tell you how to cope, and that's what we've been trying to do here. Today, in this particular episode, we're going to take a look at leadership in these turbulent times, both leadership and how you can motivate yourself. How do you motivate yourself? How do you keep yourself going through this tough period? Mr. Shiv Kumar, do you want to go first?
Yeah.
If you're motivating yourself or anybody else, what do you do? How do you keep yourself going?
Yeah. So if you ask personally about me, I've been running a lot. I've been doing about 8 kilometers a day. I've got physically much fitter. I've really rethought my diet. I've read a lot. In the initial days, I read everything about COVID, and then I stopped because it was just becoming too much of a overload. I've really read, considerably in this point of time. Next is really engaging and energizing with people on calls such as these, and getting and feeding off their energy. Talking to colleagues, talking to peer group, talking to people outside of the industry. And really having meaningful chats with them. That's how I kept myself busy.
All right, Manish.
I just think that crises like this are the best time to make the investments, or at least have change. From my perspective, where regulatory cholesterol is a big problem holding me back, I think a policy window, which is when change will happen because there is so much pain. So I think we are motivated by the fact that everything that held India back, the labor laws, the regulatory cholesterol, the banking systems problems, the compliance issues, the education reform, all is on the table. There is a real policy window for India. So the next 25 years will hopefully be different from the last 25 years. And we have to get ready for that as an organization and as a team. So that's what we're really focused on, is that this is the time to be making the down payment for what hopefully will one of the few places in the world where growth will be left in the next 20 years. We were always a 10 horsepower engine running on 2 horsepower, but hopefully now we will get rid of the cholesterol and get to our real potential.
Okay, let's hope you're right on that. Ajit, motivating yourself.
Well, I guess for me, Vikram, it's been just the fact that, we've all been cooped up. The whole family's been cooped up together. Else my daughter would have been flying away. She's in the 12th grade and would have gone away for education. And we were waiting for that day. But we've pushed a couple of semesters back. And so we are all together. And just being together, having conversations, and purposefully taking it a little slow. The first part of the lockdown was, we were all excited. There was a lot of work happening, a lot of hobbies that came up. Health and fitness continues at this point of time. But I think it's got stressful, I must admit. And therefore, in the last couple of months, I think it's been about taking it slow, taking time with the family, connecting at a more personal level, both with family and at the professional level with friends, colleagues, and clients, have actually been very energizing and, a learning experience. Also drives a lot of insights into the business that we've been able to use and move the business, forward. So I think for me, that's been motivating, just getting more personal at every level.
Great. I noticed you smiling when you heard many people on the panel saying, we've used this to get time to get fit and to exercise. Actually, a lot of people have, which is, I guess, the good news. How do you motivate yourself?
Well, I think for me also, it's been the case. I probably have been the fittest in the last 10 years. So I think it's really worked the last few months. And also for me, I've been traveling almost continuously since my playing days, which is about 1991. So I think for me, the initial part was, wow, we have a break and I can stay. But I think the important thing is we don't know where we are going, when this is going to end. And I think to have goals would only make things a lot more complex. I think to just slow down and focus intensely on the process of what you can do, forgetting about what will happen, has been something which for me has really worked. And for my students also, it's the same. You don't know when we're going to come out of this, but just make sure that whenever we come out of it, we come out stronger physically and stronger mentally.
you've got to motivate the troops. And in a time of crisis like this, like in a time of war, you've got to motivate your troops. And I don't think I've ever seen a war movie which doesn't have the leader going out there and whipping up the people with an inspirational speech. Is that something which all leaders should be doing right now, making sure that that all their troops are fired up, or finding out how to deal with this?
So, Vikram, like many other things which happen in the army, the ceremony that you see of the officer rallying the troops is it's the manifestation of a much, much deeper infrastructure of leadership that you normally don't see on a day-to-day basis. So you can't have any Tom, Dick, and Harry or a Joker come in front of the troops and say, buddy, follow me and we will do this. They won't listen to him. They will laugh him off. Matter of fact, in cases like Vietnam, you might be aware, they would actually shoot those officers. You know, the term fragging actually came from there. When they would use fragmentation grenades to get these tourist lieutenants who would come for a tour of duty and want to do that, you know, for mother and glory and all of that, too much of it, they would actually kill those officers. So, I mean, the point I'm making here is that troops will only follow and will only listen to officers and leaders with whom they have a relationship that has been forged from the past. And of course, it need not be individual officers. It can also be the officer cadre. So, if let's say tomorrow you were commissioned into a unit and you wore the ranks of a lieutenant, you're actually walking on the laurels of lieutenants in the past who have led the troops, and the troops have been confident about their young officers. It's not so much that you earned your spurs until you've actually been in a few operations and stuff like that. So the rallying of the troops and the war cry and the motivational, yeah, we got to do it and all of this has meaning when the leaders follow it up with the actions on ground. So if you have an organization, let's say there's an enterprise which has unilaterally cut the salary of all its employees by say 30%. And then says, you know, we have to give it for this. You know, that organization is, the troops are unlikely to listen. They will listen to him because they have to. Nowadays in Zoom, the leader will go on and say everyone has to sign and they will listen to him. But very unlikely that those words will have any meaning. So I think it's extremely important for leaders to realize that at this point in time, it's not the time where they can start making their credibility. It's unlikely that if they haven't built that credibility in the past, if they haven't been caring for their troops in the past, if they haven't actually been more caring for them during this sort of downturn, my sense is just words of enthusing them with bigger, faster, higher, the Olympic logo is not going to work very well. Troops are far, far smarter than many people give them credit for. Right now, I know many organizations, many people are extremely, and I'm using the word sick in a very deliberate way. I know that in India, 1 in 6 and 1 in 4, depending on which demography you're looking for, people are actually suffering from some form of mental health. It may be stress, it may be whatever. Now, in a situation like this, that ratio of 1 in 4 or 1 in 6 is actually going to increase quite a bit. So you really have a workforce out there which is concerned, which is worried, which is stressed out. And this is the time that they're looking for leaders to give them reassurance. Not so much about we are going to conquer the moon and we'll send a man to the moon and while we are doing 30% cut of our wages. These messages. So I often urge my friends who get impressed by ceremonies that they see in the army, that those ceremonies are the manifestations of years and decades of SOPs and behavioral leadership that has happened. You're only seeing the tip. Just by replicating the tip and going in front of the troops and trying to shout and rally them into some sort of enthusiasm is not going to work. Even if it works, it'll be very temporal. Last maybe about 72 hours before it comes back to. So I think that aspect needs to be kept in mind.